Chatelet brothers and sisters. There is a Dickens book, Bleak House. It has a character, Miss Jellyby. This character is a send-up of a problem common to white people, telescopic altruism. In the book, while Miss Jellyby spends her time setting up a project among the boreal bulaga of Africa, she neglects her own family. As she plans to move impoverished Britons to Africa to grow coffee with the natives, her own children run as wild and savage as she imagines the African children she has never met do. Even when faced with the ultimate folly of her task, when the local king sells project volunteers into slavery in exchange for rum, she is undaunted and just redoubles her efforts. Now, why am I bringing up Miss Jellyby? Well, because I see a lot of Mrs. Jellyby's form of telescopic altruism in today's white people, both liberal and conservative. It has been my experience in my life, much to my shock and horror, that white people have some sick fascination with improving the lot of black people, like Miss Jellyby did. They all seem to have formulated an opinion on why blacks don't do as well as whites. From the conservative argument that liberal policies have led to the breakdown of the black family and all black pathologies come from that, this is the Democrats are the real racist argument because liberal democratic policies have hurt black communities and liberals are, therefore, the real racists. The liberal argument is that racism and poverty cause black dysfunction, and policies of diversity and redistribution are the answer. Both sides seem to argue that if only the other would stop the true racism that emanates from whites, the blacks would be better off. If you ask any white liberal or conservative why the Chinese have a higher average income than whites, the answer is usually some combination of the Chinese have smarts, a strong work ethic, and a supportive culture. If you ask the same person why blacks have a lower average income than whites, you will probably get the answer about racism and history and government policy. If the Chinese have the smarts, do the blacks have the dumbs? If the Chinese have a strong work ethic, do the blacks have a poor work ethic? If the Chinese have a supporting culture, what does that say about black culture, dominated by gangs, thugs, and drug dealing? I'm here to challenge your mind, to get rid of the lies and doublethink that we all live our lives by. Now, we can all agree that brains, hard work, and a supporting culture are keys to success, but we must also agree that they are the key to failure. If we accept the lies of the world, that if only we find this true racism thing and get rid of it, then we can all live equal, you will always be looking to the government for answers to your problems. This is the government lie, that racism is the main problem, and giving government lots of money and power and implementing communism, where you can't disagree with the government anymore, is the answer. In my 53 years, I have learned that it is better to be strong and to face adversity. I have been through divorce, I have a disabled son, and I am disabled myself. If blacks are so weak that racism is holding them down, just wait for what life does to you. Life has real physical pain in store for you. Real loss, real anguish. If we must play little girly games and play pretend that the mean words are as bad as violence, you have little chance of facing life's real hurdles. If you think words hurt, try a motorbike crash. If racism is life's worst problem, then you need an army of bureaucrats to complain to forever, to straighten out those violent words, and to fix all the injustices. If racism isn't life's worst problem, all you need to do is raise your children in a dignity culture. When I was young, society had just transformed from an honor culture where you could personally take revenge for any insult you thought was large enough, to a dignity culture where sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. We now live in a victim culture, where words are supposed to be violence. This victim culture benefits those in power because it gives the government millions of reasons to intervene in society. If people are encouraged to complain about each other, and people are given ways to complain about each other, people will complain about each other. Every complaint is an excuse for the government to shove their obscene ideologies down our throat. People like me raised in a dignity culture have little need for government to intervene in our lives. We do not believe the progressive fairy tale that words are violence because it is a stupid thing to say. Violence is violence. Saying words are violence is like saying staring is violence. It is nonsense, but a lot of people believe in it. People raised in a dignity culture are immunized against the harsh words of others. We believe we each have inherent self-worth. No one can take away with mere words. I intend to bring this back. Here is a quote from Frederick Douglass, a free black man who was a slave abolitionist and a well-known social reformer born in 1818. He said, Everyone has asked the question, what shall we do with the Negro? I had but one answer from the beginning: do nothing with us. Your doing with us has already played the mischief with us. Do nothing with us. If the apples do not remain on the tree of their own strength, if they are worm-eaten at the core, if they are early ripe and disposed to fall, let them fall. I am not for trying to fasten them on the tree in any way, except by nature's plan. And if they will not stay, let them fall. And if the Negro cannot stand in his own legs, let him fall also. All I ask is to give him a chance to stand on his own legs. Let him alone. This is how I feel. It is sometimes the hardest thing to do nothing. To stand and watch someone try on their own and keep your mouth shut is hard, but I believe the world needs a lot of shutting up and doing nothing when it comes to this Negro question. You see, I consider the Miss Jellybees of the world to be the true white supremacists. I think white people who make it their lives to elevate the black man to the level of the white man are the true supremacists. These white people have the notion in their head that since the black man is doing on average worse than whites, somehow their white boy or white girl ideas are needed to elevate the black man. Blacks are an excuse for progressives to implement communism in the name of helping the marginalized blacks. Communism isn't helping black people, it is just making the government rich and powerful. Blacks are just pawns in the quest for power among white progressives, and I would like it to stop. Literally millions of white people spend their time fucking with black people somehow, and it has got to stop. Whites have the most advanced culture in the world, and constantly trying to improve blacks so they can be like us is a crime against humanity. None of these white progressives have a plan for the Chinese man. None of them has a plan for the Hindu, but God bless them, just about every white person has a plan for the blacks. Please stop. All of you. Every progressive has their own plan to raise up the Boreal Bulaga people. What I would like, and I would think Frederick Douglass would like, is there not to be a black question with a million answers and advocates, just like there is no Filipino question, no Korean question, and no Russian question. I believe a lot of good things come from doing nothing. Now more of how to stop being a modern-day Miss Jellybee. No matter what you think of Miss Jellybee and what she was doing to the Africans, she intended to do good, as we all do. She intended to bring industry and eternal salvation to the Africans, making their life on earth better and giving them life eternal. Noble goals. Now you have to ask yourself, what are the Miss Jellybees of today doing to Africa? The two biggest efforts they seem to have is to get Africans to play by the white man's rules of human rights, and the other being family planning, which has as its goal population control. A lot of this intervention under Obama seems to have been to get African nations to accept gay rights. I think aid was just cut off to Gambia because the president of Gambia didn't have the right attitude on the gays. Human rights also seems to be the right to access birth control and access to abortions. So in short, if you're looking at it cynically, the white progressive efforts in 2017 in Africa seem to be spreading sodomy and aborting black children. How is this going to look in 100 years to a historian? White people coming to Africa and measuring their success if sodomy goes up and the number of abortions go up. How is this going to look? Badly, I tell you. Yes, this is white progressivism in 2017, exporting sodomy and death. At least Miss Jellybee was trying to get an African a job, not organizing a tranny parade or some sign of what whites call progress. Miss Jellybee would have never aborted an African child. Now it's time to come back from Africa to Ontario. I was watching a video of Jordan Peterson, a controversial University of Toronto professor. Look him up, debating a young black woman outside of a speech he was giving at the University of Ottawa. This young black woman accused Dr. Peterson of having white privilege. She said we were living in a white supremacy and Dr. Peterson should listen to her because she had lived experience of oppression. This is the view fashionable in academia today. The white man is the center of some sort of cargo cult. If you circle the sacred white man and chant the holy chant of supremacy, privilege, and oppression, the white man is supposed to crap out some sort of cargo, some power or gives me that make black people's lives easier. If we're going to stop doing to the Negro, this means letting them fall if they fall. In a world of Miss Jellybees, every black failure is due to a lack of intervention by some right-thinking white. I will go into later the details of the purge I intend to do to academia in Ontario if true justice comes to power. True justice will remake society into a dignity culture again. Victim culture is opposite land. where somehow experiencing pain gives you status. After 53 years, let me tell you, the only thing that gives you status is accomplishments. Life is as simple as that. In a dignity culture, people who have accomplishments are respected, no matter the race or sex. A victim culture is just a rat hole where you are supposed to respect and listen to black, HIV-positive trans women of color who are in wheelchairs because, identity. As someone whose life was destroyed and had to start all over again at 50, as someone who works with the most marginalized people on earth, let me assure you, you don't get any special insight from being a victim. Being a victim makes you angry and bitter, not insightful. I'll compare sad stories to everyone. If we played a Prussian Olympics, I would get a gold, but that doesn't give me status to speak for anyone else. So there are most of my thoughts on race. Am I as a white supremacist as I will be called? Love to have your feedback. Chatelet, brothers and sisters.